you and I have talked many times about a couple of these groups, but I want to spend some time on the groups who have been long doing the actual groundwork in Chicago against police violence, because frankly, look, I like all protest, really. Like, if people want to get in the streets, I'm all for that, right? Especially people who don't normally get in the streets, I think that's a good thing that something's moved them to get in the streets. However, I've read many things that have happened where some of the groups, I'm thinking Black Youth Project, We Charge Genocide, some Assata's Daughters, groups that you talk about a lot and have worked with, who frankly have been doing this amazing work for years. And when it comes to where the eyes of the world are on Chicago with these massive protests and this horrible atrocity, you see some of these groups who have been doing all this amazing work kind of getting pushed to the side, and other people kind of stepping up and trying to get in front of cameras. So let's talk about those groups and the amazing work that they're doing, and and give them the credit they deserve for the consistently amazing activism that they're pushing forward.
Yeah, so it's interesting that you asked me this in this moment, because I've been working on a very small project that I hope to release sometime this week, that really does look at and try to give voice to a narration of a longer-term history around organizing around police violence and criminalization in Chicago. And I would just say, if you just take the period of time between May of last year, May of 2014, and where we're at right now, it has been a very, very kind of fruitful moment in time of collaboration between various groups that are very youth-driven, youth of color groups that have connections, obviously, to allied people who are not people of color. And those groups have found this way to connect with each other, build together, and keep the momentum basically going around policing and violence and resistance to that. And so those groups have built stronger relationships over the last, 16, 17 months, and have been working more and more together over time. And I think what's happened is there are established groups, and then there are groups that predate, that have been doing work around criminalization issues for even longer than this kind of core of newly activated young people. And they have not found their place right now. They've been struggling. A few of those older kind of groups, like the Chicago Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression, for example, have gotten in and done a really good job. I mean, they've been around since, Angela Davis got out of prison in 1972, right? Mm-hmm. So they actually have adapted in this really beautiful way to working with this newer crop of activists and organizers. They've kind of taken a back seat. They've been there as, supporters. They have come and lent their voice, right? And they've been very incredibly respectful in terms of connection. And then there are other people who feel as though their work is not being properly credited, and that they also have something very important to teach these young people who really don't know how to do stuff, right? And that has caused some tension and some difficulties. This past Friday, some of the young people who have been organizing for a long time were attacked by other protesters, and violently attacked, and homophobic slurs thrown their way, misogynistic slurs thrown their way. And so we're still trying to figure out how to address these issues and how to make sure that people who are working together, or not even working together, but working towards the same goal, make sure that we kind of have our own houses in order and are uprooting oppression amongst ourselves and within ourselves. And so we're working on that, and I think there'll be some interesting stuff that should come out from that moving forward. The other thing I want to point out that's important, Matt, is that we also have I don't think it's a generational divide as much as it's a political divide between those people who keep offering the same solutions over and over again to these issues that have to do with reform, and those who are now pushing a more abolitionist bent, right?
Yeah.
And that's a tension, that's a political tension. It's the, people who were part of that older crowd and some younger people that have more conservative ideologies were saying to the press that getting more black cops, for example, was a priority. And, no, actually. we see that black cops or having women cops, we still have inordinate amounts of police violence because violence is endemic in policing. And so having, different faces in there doesn't make it any less lethal. And keeping on, making kind of demands that are based on diversity and more community policing and the things that have been consistently asked for all the time.
In every task force that's ever been made.
Exactly.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so that's, there's some tensions happening there. But I think what I see is this is a great opportunity and a great moment because we have all these newly activated, not just young people, but certainly a lot of young people who are asking for different things and are trying to push the conversation in a different way. I hope that more people embrace that. I hope more people are supportive of that and are trying to find ways that they can be encouraging. That's what I hope comes as we continue to push forward and press forward in this city.
And it's something that you and I have talked about in the past on the show. And it's like, I think everyone who does the work should get their credit, but in reality, it's the bigger picture. It's not even so much about the credit, but that matters. I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but it's also who's establishing the boundaries of the debate. And it's something that we talked a lot on the last time. And so you really have some bigger groups maybe come and just like, more diverse cops, more body cameras, whereas then you have these groups who are really doing amazing work, who are really trying to go at the very structural problems of the police state, the very structural problems of white supremacy and racism that are really that cameras are not going to fix. That changing the lineup of who is a cop is not going to fix. The problems run deeper than little tweaks that a lot of these people are actually pushing forward as big solutions.
That's exactly right. I think you put it perfectly. I think the fight is over, again, delineation of exactly the terms of the debate. It's also a fight over ideological kind of approaches and frameworks. Like, our analyses sometimes are not the same. Like, we may think, okay, the problem is police violence, but our ideas about what that means and then how to what tactics to use and what strategies need to be employed are different and across the board. And I think we can coexist. I think we can coexist, but it has to be with respect. It has to be nonviolent within each other, within our own communities, and we have to figure out how to disagree, and debate and fight without it turning into a constant kind of circular firing squad situation. And so that's what I hope we can learn how to do and work together. And I think because many of us are committed to restorative and transformative practices and justice, we're trying to put that into being. We're trying to actually live out our values while we're fighting for these forms of long-term justice, So we'll see. We'll see how it all works itself out. There's a lot going on in Chicago.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you that. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot of stress. People are feeling people are tired too. Yes, I said before that, go back to May of 2014 for us when Dominique Franklin was killed by the Chicago Police Department and it led to the formation of We Charge Genocide. We've basically been going since that time with no break.
Yeah.
And then we launched into reparations and trying to get that campaign going. Launched into the Fire Servant campaign with a bunch of groups like BYP 100 coordinating that. Launched into the fight around stop and frisk and trying to get data transparency over that over the summer. Then thrust right now directly into this Laquan McDonald execution tape situation. There's been no breathing room for people. People have been going, pushing in the streets almost every single month. There's some big demonstration, big solidarity. So people are exhausted. I don't know when folks are going to have time to breathe, but that's going to be incredibly important because you just can't keep going with this much trauma, this much stress, without it boiling over into other kinds of things. And so we have to figure out how to take care of ourselves while we're fighting.